You ever post something online, thinking it's just a regular Tuesday, and instead you start a war? That's what happened to Mateo Alvarez the morning he listed his grandfather's old cabin for sale. It should have been simple, quiet, a clean goodbye. But nothing about this story stayed quiet for long. It all started with dust. Sunlight slipping through cracked window panes, catching on the floating flecks that danced like ghosts in the air. Mateo sat in the living room of that cabin, the scent of pine wood and stale tobacco hugging the walls like memory. His grandfather built this place in '83, back when there wasn't a soul within 5 miles of Pine Hollow Lake. No HOA, no regulations, just wilderness, sky, and the quiet lessons passed between an old man and the boy he raised. Mateo had buried his grandfather 6 months earlier. He hadn't been back since the funeral, but now, with unpaid taxes stacking up and his startup bleeding cash, he knew it was time. The cabin was falling apart, leaky pipes, ancient wiring, a roof that moaned whenever the wind dared to whisper. He didn't have the time or money to fix it, and his grandfather, ever the pragmatist, had told him long ago, don't cling to something just because it hurts to let go. So at 9:47 that morning, Mateo hit publish on the listing. Charming lake cabin, 2 beds, 2.3 acres, $240,000. Needs love. He figured he had a few weeks before anyone even noticed. Wrong. 43 minutes later, gravel crunched beneath the tires of a brand new white Mercedes SUV. Mateo peeked through the blinds and felt his stomach sink. Her name was Delores Camden, president of the Ridgewood Bluffs, HOA. Power walk like a senator, precision haircut, eyes that scanned like a barcode reader. Her purse alone probably cost more than the cabin's plumbing. Mateo barely had time to open the door before she launched. Mr. Alvarez, you've violated 12 distinct community guidelines, and I'm here to inform you that the sale of this property will not proceed. Wait, what? This wasn't a community property. This was private land, passed down from grandfather to grandson long before Ridgewood Bluffs even had its glossy gates and boutique dog parks. Delores didn't blink. Your ignorance of boundary revisions doesn't excuse the infraction. Your land now falls under HOA jurisdiction. See the 2020 revision approved by our planning committee. Mateo laughed at first. It had to be a joke. But she didn't flinch. Instead, she pulled out her phone and called 911. I'd like to report an attempted illegal property transfer, she said, staring him dead in the eyes. The seller may be working with suspicious individuals. Mateo's heart stuttered, not out of fear, out of disbelief. She stood on his porch like a queen defending her throne, texting with the fury of someone coordinating a SWAT raid. When the sheriff finally arrived, you could practically smell the confusion. He knew Mateo, knew the land, knew this was insane. But Delores, she smiled like she'd already won. This cabin will never leave my control, she whispered, stepping back into her Mercedes and vanishing up the road. Mateo didn't sleep that night. Something about her reaction, it was too personal, too calculated. Why would an HOA president fight that hard over a cabin she claimed had just recently fallen under her jurisdiction? And that's when he remembered his grandfather's words. If they ever come for the land, look behind the oak shelf. It took him 20 minutes to pry the heavy bookcase away from the wall, and there it was. A fireproof safe, nestled deep into the cabin's foundation, inside. 2 maps, one from 1987, one from 2020. And on the new map, a signature in the corner. D. Camden licensed surveyor. Delores hadn't just enforced the boundary revision. She created it. She rewrote property lines, claimed public land, folded in the cabin without anyone noticing. And now, she was trying to shut down the sale before someone else. Someone dangerous to her little empire got hold of it. The next day, Mateo received a cease and desist letter, professional letterhead, fancy font, cold threat. That same afternoon, the local coffee shop had flyers on every table, his cabin's photo, under bold red text. Warning: unsafe property transfer threatens Ridgewood safety. Delores had even looped in the local news. Channel 9 ran a segment that night, featuring a shadowy photo of Mateo with the words "controversial sale" sparks community panic beneath it. And then came the emergency HOA meeting. Mateo showed up alone, sat in the back row, watched as Delores stood in front of a microphone, spinning lies like a spider weaving silk. Phrases like community integrity and protecting property values flew from her mouth. But then something shifted. A woman stood up in the back, Rosa Delgado, longtime resident, mother of 3, quiet, respectful, but this time, angry. My lot's been getting billed for lake maintenance since 2018. If what Mateo's saying is true, that land was never legally part of the HOA. Murmurs. Then another voice. Jim Sheridan, retired firefighter. That survey map, I've seen it. Your name's on it. Delores. And just like that, the dam cracked. Questions. Doubts. Residents turning against the very woman they once trusted to protect them. That night, Mateo got a call from a number he didn't recognize. Name's Malcolm Price, the voice said. I've been watching your fight. I think you just kicked a hornet's nest. Turns out, Malcolm wasn't just a random buyer. He was a legal analyst and former HOA victim himself. His family had been forced to live out of their minivan for 3 months after being wrongfully evicted. He didn't use protests or social media rants. He used law. And now he wanted Mateo's help to take down Ridgewood's corruption once and for all. When Malcolm and his team rolled into town, it was like a scene from a courtroom drama. Legal briefs, survey documents, aerial photos, property tax records all cataloged, color-coded, and ready for war. And what they uncovered. Sickening! Delores had redrawn the HOA map 5 times since 2000. Each time, she absorbed more land, often from minority or elderly homeowners who couldn't fight back. She billed them thousands in illegal community fees, used the money to fund lakefront upgrades, and threatened those who resisted with immigration enforcement or property violations that didn't exist. Malcolm's associate, Nina Patel, unearthed internal emails between Delores and county officials. Deals made in shadowy corners, favors traded, survey data manipulated. They even found a voicemail, recorded 3 months before Mateo's grandfather passed. Dolores's voice. If we can get Mateo out of the picture, I'll make sure the cabin transition is clean. The last thing we need is another tech kid poking around with software and questions. The final HOA meeting. It wasn't just packed, it was broadcast. News vans lined the street. Neighbors came with folding chairs. Malcolm walked in like a federal prosecutor, briefcases in hand, legal firepower ready to blow the walls off Ridgewood's secrets. And then he did. Photographs, voicemails, maps. He exposed how Delores had orchestrated the takeover, how she'd profited from fear. Disguised as leadership. Rosa stepped up too, voice trembling but strong. I was threatened with deportation. My kids couldn't sleep for weeks. And when Delores finally stood to speak, she didn't defend herself. She apologized. Said she lost herself trying to control what couldn't be controlled. Said she just wanted to feel powerful again after losing her family. But for most, it was too late. 23 families filed a class action suit. They later settled for financial compensation. Rosa insisted the goal wasn't destruction, just protection. Delores resigned. The Ridgewood Bluffs HOA dissolved. And the cabin. Malcolm bought it at full asking price. But this story was never about a cabin. It was about standing up when someone tries to take what isn't theirs, and using the truth, not a pitchfork, to fight back. 6 months later, Mateo got another call from Malcolm. A community outside Austin needs help. Military families getting squeezed by an aggressive HOA. You ready to lead this one? Mateo didn't hesitate. Because once you've looked tyranny in the eyes and survived, you don't go back to silence. You build something louder and stronger. Now let me ask you something. Was Delores just a broken woman or a criminal who deserved jail? Was Mateo right to expose her, or should the community have found a quieter solution? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it.